We're in a series on effective communication. In part one, I talked about expectations and how the 3 C's can help minimize miscommunication. In part two, I shared about the PSA technique and how that can help us be effective when it comes to giving praise or recognition. Then last session, we talked about feedback and how the ACEs method can help you give criticism that people actually listen to and produces change. Now, in today's conversation, we're going to wrap up this discussion on communication, and we're going to talk about the glue or the mortar that holds effective communication together, and that's customization. Now, before we talk about customizing our communication, we have to know our natural communication style. Now, if you do a Google search, you can find lots of different tests and assessments to find out your natural communication style, and you're more than welcome to take those. But for our conversation, I want to keep it very simple. I want you to think about 4 communication areas, and I want you to think about where you fall on this pendulum. I've talked before in previous sessions about my pendulum philosophy. I want you to think about where your bent is between these 2 extremes. So, for example, when it comes to general communication, are you more assertive or do you lean more towards being passive? When it comes to conflict or giving feedback or criticism, are you more confrontational or do you lean more towards peacemaking? When it comes to sharing, are you more open or are you more closed? And when it comes to words, are you more robust, meaning you use more words when you talk, or are you more concise, meaning you use fewer words when you talk? Understanding where you fall in the pendulum in those 4 areas, it will help you develop your natural communication style and actually be able to articulate it. Now, once we know our natural style, then we can start customizing our communication. But why is this so important? You see, what I tend to find is that for most of us, when it comes to things like communication or personality or strengths, a lot of times we think that the differences between us and somebody else, it's pretty minute. It's like a small ditch. However, in reality, it's like the Grand Canyon. And when we're talking about communication, it's like speaking a completely different language. Stephen Covey, in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which is number 2 on my top leadership books of all time, he says that our tendency is to project out of our own autobiographies what we think people want or need. When it comes to communication, what he means is that we speak out of our natural bent based on our past experiences, and we communicate the way we want to be communicated to. But here's the problem. People are different than we are. So a lot of times we're communicating out of our natural bent and we think we're saying something. However, the other person, because they have different lenses and they have a different communication hearing aid, they hear something completely different. And our communication is not effective. We have to learn to communicate their style. We have to learn to know their story. Once we get to know them better, then we can customize our communication. And that's what the best communicators and leaders do. They don't speak just out of their natural style. They learn their audience and communicate in their language or their style. And that's what allows them to be effective at communication. And more importantly, that's what allows them to be effective leaders. So here's today's game plan. I want you to think about those 4 communication areas. Let me say them again. General communication. Where do you fall in this? Are you more assertive or are you more passive? When it comes to giving feedback or criticism or conflict, are you more confrontational or are you more peacemaker? When it comes to sharing, are you more open or are you more closed? When it comes to words, are you more robust or are you more concise? Take those 4 areas and write down what you think your natural communication style is. Then pay attention when you talk. Ask a close friend or a spouse, and then you can begin articulating more your natural communication style. Then what I want you to do is I want you to pick someone close to you that you want to communicate better with. And I want you to start writing down what you think their natural communication style is in those 4 areas. Pay attention to how they talk. Then finally, I want you to start communicating in their language or communication style. I think you'll be amazed at how effective your communication will be. with that person. Let me leave you with our tweetable lesson. Communication is not about what you say, but what the other person hears.